Bells ring out in St. Peter's Square after the Vatican announced the death of Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI in his residence at the Mater Ecclesiae monastery in the Vatican. While the news was anticipated, it was greeted with the expected gravitas.
A Roma, il Papa Emerito Benedetto XVI.
A spokesman provided an update this morning.
The funerals will be on Thursday this coming week, Thursday the 5th of January, at 9:30 on St. Peter's Square, and they will be presided over by Pope Francis.
As the bells tolled in Munich too, where the former Joseph Ratzinger had served as Archbishop, some parishioners had a muted reaction to Pope Benedict's reign.
I thought when he came to power he would finally bring some fresh air into the Catholic Church and bring an end to celibacy, but unfortunately he disappointed me.
In Rome, there were tributes.
I suppose it's unusual that he decided to stand down, but it was the right decision for him to make for himself.
At St. Patrick's Cathedral in Armagh, worshippers also remembered Benedict.
He was a pope who had great love for the people, and he focused a lot on the love of God, so that's why I really liked him.
Archbishop Martin extended sympathy on behalf of the Bishops' Conference and the faithful across Ireland.
And he often would have asked Irish bishops and visitors to Rome about Ireland. He took a great interest in the peace process, for example, and assured us often of his prayers.
This afternoon, Pope Francis remembered his predecessor as noble and kind. He will lead the funeral mass next Thursday, after which Pope Emeritus Benedict will be buried in the papal tombs under St. Peter's Basilica. Juliette Gash, RTE News.
As Pope Benedict XVI faced a range of challenges and controversies. A high-profile cardinal under Pope John Paul II, he was a young teenager in wartime Germany.
Habemus Papam, Cardinalem Ratzinger.
Joseph Ratzinger was the first German pope since the Middle Ages. In Bavaria, his policeman father had opposed fascism, but Joseph's generation was coerced into Hitler Youth and conscripted into the forces. Ordained in 1951, a decade later, at the Second Vatican Council, he championed reform. But the student revolts of the late 60s made him a conservative. In 1977, he became Munich's Cardinal Archbishop, and in 1982, Pope John Paul II's chief defender of orthodoxy. He led crackdowns on liberation theology and the push for women's ordination.
Papa ha sofferto.
His sermon at St. John Paul's funeral put him in pole position for the succession, which he clinched by denouncing the theory that nothing is objectively true. He sparked controversy by quoting a medieval description of Islam as violent and irrational, but a backlash prompted him to plead that he had been misunderstood. The Jewish world praised his poignant visit to Auschwitz, but criticised him for lifting the excommunication of the Holocaust denier Bishop Richard Williamson. He was popular amongst conservatives, however his pontificate was overshadowed by attempts to halt the meltdown caused by child abuse. He banished Father Martial Massiel, founder of the Legionnaires of Christ, who John Paul had protected despite a string of allegations. He summoned Irish bishops to Rome following the Ryan and Murphy exposés of endemic abuse and cover-ups.
The wounds caused by such acts run deep.
Writing to Catholics here, he apologised to the abused and criticised failures of leadership. He sent Boston's Cardinal Sean O'Malley and others to scrutinise the Irish Church. Their report lamented fairly widespread dissent from church teaching here, but praised its child protection. But months later, the then Taoiseach accused the Vatican of trying to frustrate the commission of inquiry into clerical abuse in the Diocese of Cloyne.
The rape and the torture of children were downplayed or managed to uphold instead the primacy of the institution, its power, its standing and its reputation.
When he was accused of allowing a priest abuser to access children in Munich, a former diocesan deputy accepted responsibility. 2012 brought VatiLeaks. Leaked letters revealed that a mid-ranking archbishop was deflected from cleaning up corruption by a mysterious transfer to Washington, D.C. The scandal exploded when Benedict's butler, seen here in the passenger seat, was charged with stealing documents from Benedict's desk. He was jailed, but the Pope pardoned him. The leaks targeted the Vatican's then Prime Minister, but Benedict stood by him. In February 2013, he caused a sensation by becoming the first Pope in 7 centuries to resign. He said it was for the good of the Church and that he no longer had the strength to continue. He handed his successor a secret internal report on financial scandals. As Pope Francis settled into the role of Pope, Benedict settled into retirement, but he continued to cause headlines. In 2019, he published reflections on the scandal of sex abuse in the Church, saying it was made possible by a progressive eclipse of faith in God. Some historians say that for all of Benedict's theological work, it's his resignation that will most come to define his legacy. His behind-the-scenes role as Pope Emeritus is a matter for historians.